The Cubs are in town?
Oh, yeah. It's a big one.
Since when?
Monday.
Oh.
3-game tilt.
All right. So they're playing today. Last game.
They played Monday. They played Tuesday. Now they play.
Yeah, it's called a series.
Yeah, it is.
It's called the tilt.
Oh,
It's
thanks,
called the
Roy.
tilt.
Roy,
Roy. Yes.
that's unnecessary, Roy, to be aggressive with that. But Jessica, are sports moving too fast down here for you that you missed that the Cubs just swung through town and today is their last game?
Rubber match.
I just have not watched a Cubs baseball game this entire season, actually.
Why would you?
Exactly. Stugotz.
How did that work with you though? Didn't you get swept up in all Cubs mania and then they trade a couple of the guys and you're out?
Well, it's hard being a Cubs fan and not living in Chicago. Like, I got to pay extra to watch all the games. And then if they're not on prime time because they suck, I'm not going to really see them that much.
So
I don't
your
know.
Cubs allegiance, this is a decision a lot of people are going to have to make, right? Your Cubs allegiance is not worth what, $5.99 a month? What would it cost? Or
Well, when I was living in New York, I had MLB TV for a season, and it was like $130 a year or something like that. And I think now Marquee Network, you can get it, and it might be a little bit cheaper, but it's still a lot of money. And I'm paying already a ton of money for all the streamers that I subscribe to and everything else. So
but
it's like,
what's the price of fandom?
am I gonna really pay for a not great product?
For a
Like,
loser.
they're not a very good
Right.
team. They're
Yes.
not in the playoff hunt. I'm sorry, it's harsh, but Billy, I gotta spend my money judiciously. If the team's not going to make a playoff run, I'm not gonna pay to watch them every month.
it's not harsh. It's just coldly business instead of fan. Like they've made it for you. Like you better be good or you're not going to get my dollar.
Well, for the out-of-market people is what she's saying.
Yeah, if
Like, who's a fan of losing? Nobody is.
No one likes losing.
But Jess, is there a scenario in which you're not paying the $400 for Sunday ticket?
I'm
Because-
actually not paying that much for Sunday ticket. I have a workaround, which I'm
Nice.
not going to explain on this show because I don't want people to catch on to it.
Were threats involved?
No threats.
Really?
I'll just say this way. It's very beneficial to be young and have friends that are young. That's all I'll say on that.
What if you're old and you have friends that are young?
You can do that too, but it's less likely that that would be the case.
I don't know what any of that means.
Once upon a time, one of the greatest gifts we gave to the audience was some ability to get a giant discount right before the NFL season started. We gave them some sort of secret. A lot of people will remember their allegiances to our show from back then because we saved them $90. We gave them a secret. Jessica has just masked hers, and I have a secret, but I'm not going to share it with any of you because then it won't be a secret anymore.
Well, I'm scared like DirecTV will find out and they'll like come to my house with
DirecTV
like,
doesn't care
a
anymore.
cease and desist and
I got it for $50 when I called a week ago.
Nice.
well that's also a thing. If you call and complain right now because this product has not been working the last 2 weeks, they are giving refunds.
Were threats involved for you?
No.
What'd you do?
No, I didn't do anything. I
Say,
just,
you know who I am?
yes, that's what I did. I called and I said, "Do you know who I am? Is there the Dan Le Batard discount of $50?"
I mean, they might know. I mean,
So just wait until week 2 to call, and then all of a sudden it's $50.
well, Jessica just gave you a secret because they had such a disaster the first couple of weeks. If you call in and say this is unacceptable. Because my TV didn't go out. I don't know how many markets this happened in, but it's funny to see how many people started scratching themselves because as soon as you lose DirecTV, you're furious, and DirecTV will give you your money back because they do not want to upset the customer or the NFL.
That channel only has to work 18 Sundays out of the year. 18. And so far, 0 for 2. I mean, it's not like it's on every day. It's not like it's on year round. It's 18 Sundays. Just make it work for 18 Sundays. And if you're not, don't ask people to pay $400 for it. All right.
why is it not working though? Just out of have they given?
My assumption is that there's some back end technical issue that they are having, and since they're not going to be doing it next year, they're not going to invest millions of dollars into fixing it. Like they're checked out. That's just a guess. I have no idea. I don't think any cable company or television company cares about customer service. They're just like, oh, if you threaten to get rid of our service, here, just have it for free, whatever. We don't even give a shit.
It seems like
We're
that's
making so much money.
That's the cheat code, right? Like if I were to just add DirecTV today and then call tomorrow and threaten to cancel and leave, would I just get Sunday ticket for free, or would they know you've
Probably.
only been a customer for a day?
I mean, I know so many people that have gotten it for free, just anecdotally, who have just called in and been like, hey, this is too expensive. We don't want it anymore. And they're like, please, take it for free for 5 years. We'll see you in 2030.
I'm surprised that none of you are attacking Jessica on the bandwagon business.
They're afraid of me.
Bandwagon businessness of her Cubs allegiance was, my God, I love this team so much when it's winning me a championship, to, oh, you've stunk for a couple of years. Never mind. You cannot have my streaming dollar. I'm giving it to 17 other places, and you don't qualify this year. Maybe check in with me next year. It's a transaction that's a little bit cold.
Well, here's the thing about the Cubs that I don't think is true for every baseball team. I will still spend money to go to a game. Like, the experience of going to a Cubs game is still really fun.
Oh, but
and
because you didn't know that they were here. You didn't.
Well, not at the Marlins. I meant at Wrigley Field.
Why? What's wrong with Marlins Park?
Not exactly the same atmosphere.
Look, the Marlins took care of me last summer when the Cubs were in town, and I will not say any ill of them, but the game atmosphere is not the same as Wrigley, the friendly confines of Wrigley Field. Where Stugotz was there for a dead show. He can tell you. It's a special
No, it's
place.
amazing. I've been there for a baseball game when they've been bad, and it is a special place.
My whole life I grew up going to bad Cubs games. I probably only saw them win at Wrigley Field like once in my entire life. And it doesn't matter because it's a fun experience to go, and especially when the tickets are cheap and they're not playing well. You just sit in the bleachers, have 15 old styles, and then, call it a day.
Bad atmosphere starting to sound like the quarterback now. Jeez.
Oh, boy.
Only time ever it happened to me that I got goosebumps walking into an arena in America of any kind was Wrigley Field.
It's a ballpark.
But I'm just talking about any of the kinds.
Sorry.
Ballparks, arenas, whatever stadiums. You can correct me if you want to. It's an important correction.
Bad. It is.
Man in the arena.
It's not an arena. I mean, Wrigley Arena.
Okay, all right. So forgive me for my poor word choice, Stugotz. A ballpark or football stadium.
Stugotz, we got what he was saying.
I know. I'm sorry. I said I'm sorry. I mean,
you're not sorry.
You're not, but you're not actually
Here's a word
sorry.
Writer.
One time in my life was Wrigley Field, and it's just because of the history of Chicago. I could kind of feel it. I don't know how to explain it. I sound stupid because I'm certainly not syrupy guy that way. But walking into that place, and it was a dump at the time that I was, because it's not the renovated thing it is today, where the bathrooms work and the
you peed in the trough.
The trough.
Yeah,
the trough is fantastic. Yes.
The visiting
Everybody was happy.
Love a trough.
The visiting clubhouse at a Cubs game was in a basement underneath the floor, and it was something out of the 1940s. It was all concrete. It was not a major league thing, and so I could just sort of feel the history of the city in the middle of that, and I could understand what you're saying. But when you went to that Marlins game, they treated you like no fan gets treated like that.
I had tostones, Dan. Wow.
That's now your standard, though?
Give me tostones.
Your standard is now, I'll go to the game and know the Cubs are in town if you feed me and they gave you the best seats, and you still were bored because there were only 8,000 people there.
And she showed up in Cubs gear.
Well, they gave me all these Marlins jerseys, and I did wear my Cubs shirt, but my girlfriend wore the Marlins jersey that they sent me. So, but it was also like peak COVID, and I was a little nervous, but then I got there and there weren't that many people. So I was like, okay, we're fine. So it was still like, it was like last August or July. There weren't that many people going to, I know not that many people go to games to begin with, but it was especially like sparse because we were in the middle of a massive COVID spike in Miami. Not that people down here care. I'm still not sure what.
I would not know. Jessica, honestly,
what the
Billy.
truth is
Jess,
there.
we never cared.
Billy,
the entire state, not just Miami.
I am not making fun of Marlins attendance when I ask. Does Jessica have it right? Was it a particularly sparse crowd, or was it just Marlins weekday? We do very poorly. They're all sparse crowds.
I wasn't at the game. I don't know what game she's talking about.
I will say it was also like 1 week after they traded Rizzo and Chris Bryant and Javi Baez. So it was like,
it's over.
Really, who are you going to watch?
Right.
But
other than maybe the Marlins.
But your allegiance is, it's fair to say, correct, that your allegiance there is then fair weather. If you make me feel good, I will.
I feel like once they fire Grandpa Rossi, we're going to get the Cubs fan again. She's not going to be happy about that.
I like Grandpa Rossi. He follows me on Twitter.
Yeah, but like your
Dan,
team is 30 games under 500.
I'm telling you, like you've only ever lived in or around Miami, correct? And most of the people in this room have only, except maybe Tony for a little bit. Being a sports fan is harder out of market for certain sports. Like for the Steelers, I have to pay extra for Sunday ticket just to get the game out of market. Obviously, there's like illegal streams. I don't use those anymore because I'm afraid. my computer's going to get hacked or a virus or something. But like it is harder to get the game, so you kind of lose your fandom a little bit along the way, unless you're willing to pay money or you still like are able to share that connection in some way. Maybe you go to like in New York, every sports team has a dedicated bar where you can go and watch the game with fans and other transplants, and it's really fun, and you kind of maintain that sense of community. But I've never lived in Chicago and been able to experience that like hometown sports fan feeling. I haven't done that since I was like 21, so it's just different.
I don't think you lose your fandom when you move to Florida or to another state from where you were. I think you just have to make decisions. Things that were free now cost money. So there were years where the Mets were bad. I didn't buy the games, and the Mets are good this year. So you got to buy the games. Like I don't think you lose fandom. You just have to make, financial decisions about your team. Like, Dan, would you buy Marlins baseball right now if you were living in the state of New York?
Oh, would I?
Yes.
I'd just buy a total Major League Baseball package, right? I'd try to buy
even
all
if
of
they were like 20 games out of the league.
Oh, but I've been watching Marlins games. I want to see their young players. I have not checked out. I want to see if Luzardo is somebody who can strike out 8 people a game for the next 5 seasons.
Fair enough. If I were rich, I would do it too.
Yeah, I think, Jess, one of the things that you're gonna learn too is this is also part of getting older, and I don't want to make you like sad about that, but part of getting older, you're like, am I gonna sit through a 3-hour game of a team that's 25 under, or am I gonna do anything else?
Billy, I've been that way my whole life. I will sit through that game if I'm at Wrigley Field, though, but I'm not gonna sit through it if I'm sitting on my nice couch and I could watch something better somewhere else.
We've glossed over the fact that Roy cried at Wrigley Field. Also, he's been waiting to tell us about that.
I glossed over
weird.
the fact.
Yeah.
What?
You didn't mention it.
You cried?
Yeah, some tears of joy actually went down my face when I got out of the tunnel and went behind the plate to watch the Cubs face the Cardinals.
Ever happened before
No.
or after?
Roy,
Just Wrigley Field?
Wait a minute, Roy, this
Straight
is
up
shocking.
Birth of your child?
Billy, wait a minute. Where did this information emerge from that this is shocking information you're sharing with us in the audience. I have only known Roy to be that kind of emotional when he gets into the brown liquors.
Oh, not that really, but yeah, it was a beautiful August day, coming out of the tunnel, seeing all the outfield. It was like the Mecca
You
of
wept,
baseball.
but so you wept. And that's never happened at a hockey arena for you.
I mean, no, I've only been to 4 NHL
Seen
arenas.
one, you've seen them all,
Oh, no, that's not necessarily true. If I went to Madison Square Garden, I probably wouldn't. I definitely wouldn't.
That's a great hockey park.
But great hockey park. Yeah.
Stugotz, do you believe in the idea of a place like that having a soul? The reason I asked the question is because I saw Jack White last night at the James L. Knight Center, and I'm pretty sure that in the bottom of that hotel in the middle of downtown, I believe the Miami basketball program played basketball games there
Yes, they did.
in the earliest incarnation of
What?
the 80s. No, and to see Jack White like really bring it last night with like a rock star performance. What
That's
do you
a weird venue. That's where I graduated from high school.
I know, it's a super weird. It's unbelievable. It was like
Jack White played
it
there?
didn't even make any sense that
Someone
he
graduated
was
yesterday?
in there. No, it was like a banquet hall, and he so wanted to be there, and it was such a joy to watch. And I don't know, I don't do these things very often. I'm not likely to weep at Wrigley Field, even though I got goosebumps. But like I felt the place. I don't know what to tell you. The guy was so good that it felt like I was transported to a place that had a soul.
I walked down there in James L. Knight Center where the actual Hurricanes used to play. Really? It felt like there were ghosts there. Ghosts and dust. Lots of dust.
Is everything still like carpeted there? I
Yes.
remember from high school, like the seats were even carpeted. I was like, what is this?
No, okay, let's talk about this for a second because yes, I didn't say it wasn't a dirty soul, but yes, this reminded me of like my college years because in the bowels of a hotel, University of Miami basketball led by Bill Foster and Kevin Presto and Tito Horford, Al's father, played in underneath that hotel. In front of crowds like 3,000 people. And the place is weird. And it's like stuck in 1980, is it not?
Yeah. This is before Leonard Hamilton and them boys went to the Miami Arena, right?
This is the earliest program after that was discontinued after Rick Barry. Like it's old cobwebbed basketball nonsense.
Wait, it's in the Hyatt Regency?
That's correct. This is
What a weird place.
Billy, please help me with the explanation of what this place is. It's not a weird place. It's just a hotel with basically Jack White and UM basketball played in a banquet hall.
I almost went to see Trick Daddy there like last December. Like it was Trick Daddy and Trino's, a bunch of people, and I almost went. Tough times for Jack White. Like what's going on? Why is
I assumed that he was choosing that because it's an intimate venue.
People who can't sell tickets say.
He was at the Cubs game.
Sell out a stadium. I mean,
Exactly.
He was at the Cubs game
Bad Bunny
yesterday.
did it
What did he
twice.
go by there yesterday?
He was there. I think he threw out the first.
Did he
pitch
sing
or
the
something.
7th inning stretch?
He was sat there with his blue. I was like, wait a second, because like I was offered the chance to go to Jack White, and I decided like an old man, I'm going to go to bed at 9:30 tonight instead, and I was like, wait a second, don't you have a show tonight? Why are you at the Marlins game? I guess they start early enough that you can kind of pop on over or leave after the 4th inning. But I feel like if you want to go watch the Cubs game, you'd stay for the whole thing.
there are a few places, Dan, that have given me goosebumps, like Fenway Park, same as Wrigley Field. Fenway has done it. Madison Square Garden has done it. The first time I walked into Yankee Stadium, Seminole Coconut Creek. But what happened there? Notre Dame Stadium, I would imagine, is one of those places, no?
Well, for me it is, Stugotz. I mean, yeah.
Because I'm going to a game this year.
Yeah.
I am. I'm very excited about it. I am.
Are you really going?
I'm going to Notre Dame Clemson this year with you.
Well,
wow.
Stugotz told me earlier this week that him going to this game is in the works, and I immediately told my boyfriend, who we're both planning on going.
Lehman.
I was like, hey, so Stugotz says he's coming to the Clemson game with us, but I don't think he actually is. Just wanted to give you a heads up in case you hear anything
No,
about
Hold
this.
on a
Northwestern
second.
plays Notre Dame
Yeah.
that Friday. They play him in lacrosse at Notre Dame. It's a fall game. And then the very next day is Notre Dame Clemson. So when in Rome, I figured I'd go check out Notre Dame Stadium. And I would imagine that I'll get goosebumps when I walk in there. I would think.
Jessica, please, I think we're burying the lead here just a touch here. Stugotz
Seminole
announced...
Coconut Creek.
Stugotz announced very confidently, I'm going to a game this year. And then it was revealed I'm going with Jessica. When I looked at Jessica, I saw what can only be described as an immediate skepticism. Well, are we really? Because you said we are. You've been here long enough to know that if Stugotz is making a plan with you to do anything, that you are to not believe him?
Hold on a second. Didn't this also happen at a Dead show at Wrigley Field?
Well, what happened?
What happened was
I had
told-
incredible access to a show. I couldn't get Smetty to where it is I was hanging out.
That's not exactly.
I
what happened.
texted you back, did I not? I didn't ignore you.
Well,
I mean,
but hold on. This is already it's already been revealed on air. Jessica wasn't hurt by it, but I was hurt on her behalf. That she
I
was
was feeling too good to be hurt, Dan.
that she was rows away from you,
You and me both.
and you were going to be at the Grateful Dead show, and you were just going to say hello to each other and have,
Ashes, dust to dust.
Yeah.
and you never met because your text to Jessica said in the way that she read it is not the way you're describing it.
Well, let's read it.
Yeah, go ahead.
All right, I'll
Stugotz,
find
though,
it.
like, but you would have known that you had access to this special area of the concert, right? How are you surprised? Like, you make all
I didn't
these
say
plans?
I was going to meet Smetty at the concert. I did not say that.
You did say
In
that. That is
advance?
not true. You did
Oh,
say, "Call me, we'll meet up," or "Call me, like, where are you?" Blah blah blah. Like
All
the
right,
whole weekend. Like the whole
yeah.
weekend I was in Chicago. You were like,
Yeah.
"Smetty, where are you?" And
Yeah.
I was like, "I'm in like
Well, hold on.
Lincoln Park. What do you
I have a
want?"
question.
Fair point.
Who initiated? Did he text you or you texted
He
him?
texted me
Wow,
once
so that's
at
diabolical.
first, and I was like, "Oh, okay." So he actually, is taking
Not
the
way I
time to
remember
like
it, but,
reach out to me, and then I think I texted him when I landed.
debatable.
And then I think he
Okay.
texted me from the show. And then I
You
think I
can't
texted him
initiate
back.
the text if you're going
Sure.
to blow someone off.
When was the concert, Jess? When was that? Scrolling back here on the timeline.
But
I
either
honestly-
way,
it was
you-
in June.
You guys are going to
I
go
don't
to
remember a
this
thing from
football
that
game
night.
together.
Yeah.
Either.
Yeah, Notre Dame. Yeah,
Yeah.
Clemson. Big
You know
one.
what they say,
Dabo.
Stu?
Yeah.
Man smart, woman smarter.
They opened with that night.
They
that
did.
I remember.
Well,
Yeah.
that was the day that Roe v. Wade got overturned. So.
Yeah.
Are you gonna give Jess access to touching the sign and all that stuff, Stugotz, that Marcus Freeman promised you, or no?
I don't know. Play like a national semifinalist today? I don't know.
Well, we're both crashing at Golic's house.
Yes, we
No,
are.
well,
Yes.
I've heard that's not the case. Also,
Uh-oh.
I was told you were not allowed at Golic's house, Stugotz.
Oh,
Jess
that's
was.
right. You're not
Yeah.
going to. I'm allowed at Golic's house. You're not.
What? This is my relationship, Mike Golic and I. I know you have a night. You do a show with him, right? I mean,
Are you asking?
yeah, I am
Yes,
asking.
Golic and Smitty out today.
But Golic said the house is enormous, that there's room for everyone.
Did we just learn that Golic prefers Smetty?
He does.
That Golic
doesn't like me.
Wait
Yeah.
a minute. Did we just learn together on air that Jessica has stolen Golic from Stugotz, stolen the relationship, and she is now a house guest at the Golics, and Stugotz is insulted that he's not a house guest at the Golics?
Yeah, it's the South Bend version of Jimmy Johnson's guest house in Big Chill.
You're gotta be
Where we
shitting me.
learned, like, Stugotz, like, oh, I'm going up to that game, buddy. Like, one time we were doing God Let's Talk, he's like, oh, yeah, Jess and her boyfriend are coming. They're going to stay. There's plenty of rooms. He's like, oh, buddy, I'll crash there too. He's like, well, there's not that much room.
Wait a minute.
I think he said
Bullshit.
Wait
I
a
think he
minute.
said there's nice hotels around here,
Okay,
too.
so-
He did.
I also
Holy
He
wonder
actually sent me
like
a few.
I wonder how many times Stugotz has made empty plans with the Golics that he didn't follow through on. Then now
All
that
the
he
time.
doesn't, he doesn't have
Yeah.
a room reserved.
Jessica
Yeah.
will show up and she will cozy up next to the Golics
This is
in a way that
ridiculous.
drives a wedge between the Golics and Stugotz.
Unbelievable.
I found
It
the
really is.
conversation.
Oh no.
It starts with, are you in Chicago? You started the
Okay,
conversation.
wait a minute. Jessica, please. Stugotz.
Ah!
Stugotz is super defensive right now
I am.
because this is not a good look for Stugotz that he's rows away from wherever Jessica is and they can't get together because Stugotz is just maximum Stugotz. As he tells her, I'm going to Notre Dame with you, Jessica. Now he'll try to get there because he can't get into Golic's house. Now he's going to actually try to get to this game. But I'd like to put bets on whether Stugotz ends up there or not.
Well, I have to. I mean, we have a lacrosse game. I want to go see it. I didn't know these text things stay around. I thought they disappear, evaporate after you send them. Didn't Mark Cuban invent something like that?
He did actually. Yeah,
Right?
you're right. It never caught on though.
Never did catch on.
It's called Snapchat.
Really?
Snapchat kind of does that.
What, your
too.
snaps go away?
Yeah.
How long after you send them?
Like 24 hours.
Mm.
Actually, well, sometimes like straight away. Like once you open them, look at them, then they're gone.
Okay. You want to read the conversation?
All right. So what's missing
is
from
bad.
this is that I think you called me.
I
I'll
may-
go back and
How
check.
about that?
I'll go back and check the phone records.
Mm-hmm.
So Friday, June 24th, 12 p.m., I sent Stugotz a photo outside the window of the plane, making the approach over Lake Michigan, north of Chicago, Dan. This is a very, very common approach into O'Hare, I
Nice
should add.
photo. Yeah. Good
Stugotz
shot.
responded 5 hours later, are you in Chicago? Well, that would be what the picture would demonstrate. Yes. I replied, yep. 2 hours later, are you going to the show? Me. Yes, about to leave from my friend's apartment. Where are you sitting? Stugotz. I have crazy access. I'm not even sure. Checking now. Laughing emoji.
Yeah.
Me. LMAO. I'm in right field.
Stugotz uses the laughing emoji a lot. It's one of his
I
favorites.
love it. Yeah. It's the only one I know how to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Stugotz. I'm 20 yards from
You
stage.
know how to use that one. You know how to use the others.
Nah, not really.
They're just next to each other.
I don't know what you use them for.
Yeah.
It's all confusing the way the kids use these
Yeah,
things.
he really does. He uses it for almost
100. What do I do with that? I don't know.
It's a one-size-fits-all emoji.
for almost everything. He uses the crying, laughing emoji.
Guys, if you guys, I would love for
I'm
you
sick,
guys.
buddy.
103.
Stugotz wants to descend into old age. This is a comedy oil well over here with him just asking you guys how long our snap's going to disappear, and you could do it to me too. Stugotz is not ready for that game.
No.
I would like to also
I'm
note
kinda
how
ready.
long he's taking to respond to these messages. So now 2 hours later, it's 9 p.m. I say, what side are you on? And then I said, I've never seen this many active medical personnel at a concert before. And he said, laughing emoji, like people were getting like stretchered away from
I gave
the
you
mosh
two. I
pit.
gave you two crying face emojis. How about that?
It's hard to explain, but I'm like behind the stage. That was Stugotz.
Yeah. Yeah.
Me, can you go to a concourse or no? Stugotz, probably not. I'm with my wife and my friend, who is the partner of their agency.
Yeah.
Me, okay, text me after. Stugotz, honestly, I didn't want to leave my seat, but she made me get up. Me, it's okay, stay in your good seats. That was the end of the conversation.
I mean, take a hint.
Never texted me after. Rude. rude.
Sorry.
You're not sorry. Here's the
They
thing.
You were
probably
in
had a-
right field.
They
I mean,
probably had a conversation here during the week on the Wednesday. Hey, we're gonna be at the same show. Should we meet up?
Take a hint.
Stugotz probably was gonna make all sorts of empty plans.
Hit D's.
you never called me back.
Stugotz, I don't understand the flex on the text.
I was on acid.
Like the doodah man.
I've got crazy access. I am on the shoulders right now of John Mayer. I can't get to you. You peasant. I've got I couldn't even get past the layers of security that would get me to the next layers of security where you reside with the smell of urine. I'm over here partying with the dead. Like, what are you doing?
I don't know,
what are you
Dan.
doing on her text flexing about the access you have as an excuse? Is that look at me, Louie? On just her text?
It's me explaining why I can't hang out with her. Jess knows I'd like to
Sorry,
hang out.
I'm not poor. I'm playing the guitar next to Bob Weir.
I like the explanation.
I didn't pay
can't-
for him.
I can't really explain it. I'm backstage.
I'm like behind the stage.
I
Used
can't-
to like. Who
There's no way of
do you
saying
think you are,
this.
me?
I'm having dinner with Dan Marino.
Right. I have incredible access to dead shows, which, Jess, if you and I coordinated beforehand,
Oh my God!
Beforehand.
I
Oh
mean,
my
sending me a
gosh.
picture from a plane
Why-
is not really
why-
communicating.
Why could you not get her back? Why could
There
you
are
not
lots
get
of
her-
lakes, Dan. It's
Dan,
confusing.
I did call her. She didn't call me back. I mean, perhaps I was calling her with good news,
I
you
don't
know, a
think-
couple of passes.
I don't think me not
Perhaps.
coordinating with you.
But then someone else called me
beforehand-
back. I mean,
In the history of this friendship / work partnership, Stugotz,
Yes.
who's more likely to not coordinate something ahead of time?
it's a very fair
Who
point.
is the most likely person on planet Earth to not coordinate something?
I disagree with that. I
Thank
think the
you.
coordinating happens in plenty of time. It's the revelation of said coordination that is revealed at the last minute. You know what I mean? Like, I don't think some of these trips just happen. You know what I
Right.
mean? The wheels are in motion.
I need
to-
planning, you know? I mean, these kids these days, they're very last minute. I'm here, I'm in right field. They expect me to take them on stage. I can't do it. You know, I only have a couple of passes. And at that point, at the time you started texting me, it was really kicking in. And I was a little nervous about seeing you, Jess. I got to be honest.
Which time? 5 o'clock, 7 o'clock, or 9 o'clock?
9 o'clock. Hoo-hoo-hoo.
Billy, this is the part I don't understand in the background of this, okay? Because what I believe this represents the truest anarchist in the deepest parts of your soul.
Mine.
You're listening to this
Has
story,
nothing to do with me.
and you've got a giant smile on your face.
It's a good story.
But the part that I don't get is that you understand what the frustrations are of Stugotz more than anybody, but to you, for some reason, because you love him or whatever,
I love you too, Bill.
you smile because he's creating chaos here. Jessica would just like to say hello a few rows away. Do you want to make the bare minimum
rows
effort?
away.
And the answer is no. I'm backstage. I've got crazy access.
Well, I can't explain it. He's backstage, you know?
Dan, I'm sitting basically on the pitcher's mound, and she's in right field in the bleachers. You're acting like, I mean, imagine John Lester just wanting to say hi to someone a couple of rows away when he's on the mound. You know how far that walk is to the
Yeah.
right field bleachers? I mean, think
You
about
never
it.
You're
see
not-
a pitcher say hi to right fielders in a
Right.
game, Dan.
You're
Exactly.
not John Lester, Stugotz.
The thing that is
You're right. I can throw the first. I mean, pick a player off.
He did do it one time.
He did?
I think so, yeah.
I have a question.
Once?
I have a question for you guys, and you two were
a good
involved
show,
in this
Jess.
story, and everyone else obviously can answer too. But like, how does that interaction go? You know what I mean? Because like, Jess is going to go back to her seat. Stugotz is going to go back to wherever it is that he is, right? How much time is then spent there? Like, then how does that conversation end? Is it just like a quick, hey, how's it going? Because then it's like both walked a great distance just to say hi and keep
Billy,
it moving.
this
you know?
is you're being uncommonly honest, but what's happened here, it feels like to me, is Jessica's sort of looking and saying, well, Stugotz, if you actually wanted to see me, at some point you would have made something that more resembled an effort to me.
Right.
I don't mean to speak
I
for
called her. I mean,
but
I have a good example.
Still need to
of-
check the phone lines.
I have an example of
supposed
something
to do?
that's currently going on now, right? So as mentioned before, the Cubs are in town, right? and Boog's in town, and I speak to Boog semi-frequently-ish, right? So I'm like, oh, you know what? Maybe I'll go to a game, and then I'll say hi to Boog, right? Because like we're not gonna hang out outside of a game. Like I know that we don't have that relationship.
I'm
right?
going
But then,
today. I was going
Are
today
you?
just because he's in town. I'm sure he would love to see you.
Well, I don't know. So then I'm like, well, to get to Boog, I'd have to get like some sort of credential, right? And then it's like, do I put in for a credential? And then what do? I just like go into the marquee booth and like say hey, and then at some point someone's gonna have to be like, hey, like get out of
Hey,
here,
everybody.
like. Yeah, exactly. Like, so it's kind of like I settled with not doing anything.
Hey, wait a minute. That was Harry Carey. I've told Chris Cody that I want that voice always to make appearances. You don't have any relationship.
You want him to speak only in that voice?
with Harry Carey, though. That's like, do you?
My relationship with Harry Carey is Chris Cody doing Will Ferrell doing Harry Carey, and also commercials in Chicago from back in the day. But yes, John Lester threw to first in 2018 against the Mets.
Oh my God.
Thank you, Jessica, because it brings me back to thinking what Stugotz said. I want all of you to imagine this because it's a thing he believes as we sit here today. He does believe that he could get on a mound right now in a major league game and pick someone off.
Oh, easily. Yeah.
Stugotz believes he can fool that he could fool the
If
guy.
I pitched 18 years in the majors, Dan, it would happen more than once. That's all I'm saying.
But it also, Dan, it can't be one at bat, right? It can't be like, hey, we know Stugotz is going to try to pick someone off. This is what's happening, because he won't do it that way. Like, you got to give him like a good inning where he's letting people steal off of him. You know what I mean? Like,
Yes.
he kind of throws off. He has different motions, so people kind of think they know what's coming, and then quick, turn around and boom, out of first.
Nah, he's gonna balk somebody over the second.
Well, yeah, no, but that's part of it. That's part of it. You just let them know they could take a nice, healthy lead. It's
The old
nothing's
fake
going
to
to happen.
the catcher,
Exactly.
last second over to first base, Roy. That's a balk every time, right? That's what I would do.
It's not just the balk, but then it's going over, calling time, going to second base, and making plans at a guest house in the Caymans.
It's like going to say hi to a right fielder.
You just start schmoozing around the infield.
But Billy is right. Like, I meet Jess, it's intermission, I'm rushed, she sees me, she knows what I'm going through. She makes fun of me. I don't want her to see me in that state. Then all of a sudden you're missing throwing stones, brown-eyed woman. Like, who wants to do that, right?
Well, I wouldn't want to miss Brown-Eyed Woman either, Stugotz. That was the highlight of the night. But really, I wanted to see you because I wanted to take a picture of the state of your face. Because there's no way your eyes were open during that concert.
No one wants to see their mentor in that state. I mean,
Mentor.
How self-aggrandizing is that?
Mentor. Their mentor. You're not allowed in the Golic house. She's been here. She's been in their lives for a few minutes, and they like her sincerity more than yours. She's allowed in their home to stay there. They don't want you there because all of the Golics know you cannot be counted on to show up anywhere.
It's a shame because Golic Jr. is another one of my mentees. So,
How many people do you take credit for in the
I'm so
industry?
jealous of Jess. I mean,
How many people do you take credit for in the industry?
let's see. Mina, Pablo, Katie Nolan, Trey Wingo, Hal, Golic Jr., Mikey C., Adnan, K-Funk, Jess, Mike Ryan, Dan, Boog, Sedano, Toast.
That's so wrong. That is so wrong. That should not
What do you
have.
mean?
That should
Toasty.
I'm sincerely sorry, Toast.
Are you really?
I mean,
Really?
he didn't deserve
You're sorry
that.
to Toast.
He didn't deserve the laugh that got.
Little mini in the midday over here.
Craig Minervini, OJ McDuffie.
Yeah.
Oh, Jonathan Grunfest. You got that right. Amber Wilson, Zaslow. The list goes on and on, Dan.
It's a good list.
Brendan Guzio, Tobin, Leroy, the whole market, essentially. Hawk. He's going to be mad I said that, right, Hawk?
No.
Trying to think.
I mean, it's a good list.
Foxworth, Sarah Spain, Phil Shane, and Ken Malden. Oh, and Bomani, of course. I'm in trouble. How about you?
I mean, it's a hell of a tree.
What's your
Stugotz.
broadcasting tree?
Tony.
Oh, wow. I'll trade you all mine for Tony.
Our friend and colleague, Mike Ryan, is not here today. And I imagine a large part of the reason why is yesterday, Dan Le Batard Show NIL athlete. Tyler Van Dyke was on, I believe it's called The Room with Jordan Rogers, who's one of these quarterback experts. And he was asked whether or not he prefers.
Wait a minute.
Play.
One of these quarterback experts.
Yeah, I think Jordan Rogers actually. I know he's an SEC network analyst, but I think he's also one of these people that quarterbacks work with in the period between when they end college and enter the draft to like help develop their skills.
Like Dilfer?
Correct. He genuinely works with quarterbacks in skill development.
And in return, he does these podcasts where he talks to the athletes as they're growing through the chain and to see if this guy develops, if Van Dyke develops into a pro.
Correct. Right. I think he has the ear of quarterbacks that are going to be professional prospects, which, by the way, Tyler Van Dyke was rated as a first-round prospect ahead of the season. He has not played like one so far, but he was rated, like he's viewed to be a top-level professional prospect. And so he would connect with people like Jordan Rogers, and you mentioned Trent Dilfer. Does he do Elite 11? I think that's like his. I mean, he has the ear of all kinds of top-level collegiate prospects. So Tyler Van Dyke was on this podcast, and here's what he had to say on whether or not he prefers to play at home or on the road.
You like home games better or away games?
I like away games better.
Same. Quarterbacks say that, yeah.
We don't really have much of a college atmosphere because we play at Hard Rock, so we're about 45 minutes away from campus. So a lot of students will go up and watch the game, unless it's like a big game. But that's why I like going into away stadiums and seeing that college atmosphere and playing there. And
so he says that the University of Miami does not have a college atmosphere because a lot of kids from campus don't go to the games. It's quite far. He said it was 25. You know what? Here's
25
why,
on a good day.
Here's why.
I mean, honestly.
Hang on a second,
Seriously.
chaps. Hang on a second. Here's why
Chaps.
he thinks it's 25.
Assless.
The University of Miami gets a police escort to the
Exactly.
stadium.
Yeah.
It's 25 minutes by police escort. It's not via conventional means of transportation.
He's got it good, is what you're saying.
Correct.
Yes.
He's got students helicoptering
Right.
into games, and
Yes.
it takes 25 minutes. Yeah.
Mike Ryan is now officially, publicly a booster. He's trying to get into the power places, and he polluted, Stugotz, 2 parts of Monday's show with very serious Canes talk
Yeah.
that felt like press conference to me. He's Jerry Jones. He thinks he's running the UM program.
Well, I think he might be running the UM program. He was unhinged at this tweet, at the sound. He told people, stop adding me. He told people to stop talking about it with him. He said it was doctored. I mean,
What was the part that he was getting upset about, though? That he said it's not a great college atmosphere?
I think what he's doing is he's railing against what has been for many years indictments of Miami, which is it's not a college town. It's not supported by college rah-rah. It's a mercenary factory that does winning, and it's not really collegiate.
Well, and if you go to the stadium, it is not like Texas A&M. It's not like Clemson. It's not like the big college atmospheres on a Saturday. It is different. It is sort of somewhere in between a college and pro environment, but more like a pro environment. It's supported like the Dolphins are, because to most people, the Miami Hurricanes are a team that they picked up. They didn't go to the school. It's not a thing that happens on campus. It's not a function of the University of Miami. The University of Miami rents this building for 7 Saturdays a year and then plays their games there. It's not theirs. And so, no, it's not a typical college atmosphere, but that doesn't mean it couldn't be.
Well, I think we should give Mike a little bit of credit here, because one of the things he was mad about was that Barstool tweeted out this TikTok, and then they said that Van Dyke called it a terrible college atmosphere. He didn't say it was terrible. He just said they didn't have one, right?
Right. It's not a college atmosphere.
So Mike was very
He prefers road
upset
games.
by that. Well, Well, I will say, as someone who has been to a lot of pit games, I think they're the only other Power 5 school that regularly plays in an NFL stadium. There's very few times where that feels like a real college experience. The West Virginia game was one of them. Huge rivalry game. I'm sure that against Florida State, maybe Hard Rock does feel like a college environment, but it's hard to get that environment when, like what he said, you're renting out the space. There's not Miami Hurricanes paraphernalia all over the walls. Like, it's a different atmosphere.
But isn't Van Dyke just saying the most obvious thing? I think a lot of us have been in this town long enough to know that where they play these games is on a paved parking lot. It's not. It is a wonderful complex in the middle of what isn't the rest of Miami, and it's just a city unto itself. But it's not a college atmosphere in any way. In Tallahassee, the biggest game in town is the 100,000 people who are coming to make a small town feel like a big thing.
Right.
This is a place near a Walmart, and it's a beautiful place near a Walmart.
Well, Jerry's World is next to Walmart too, so.
But it's
But that's not a great college venue. I've been to college football games at Jerry World, and it's really fun and exciting, but it's nothing like going to Clemson games, LSU games, even Notre Dame games. Notre Dame doesn't always have the best, most exciting crowd, but when there's a good team there and the fans are in it, it's a definite college environment.
But to Dan's point, he's saying Tallahassee, that's it. Gainesville, that's it. And he's right. Like, the University of Miami has never really had that feel. Maybe it had it in the Orange Bowl. And yes, he's saying the most obvious thing, but Mike is saying that he didn't say it.
But what is Mike getting defensive about? No, he's saying he didn't say it was terrible. He just said he prefers to play on the road.
I think there's a philosophical battle particularly happening amongst the fans, where if they put a stadium in Tropical Park or they put a stadium on campus, that you can recreate something that is more like a college atmosphere than going to, as you said, a paved over parking lot, because that is very much what it is, as opposed to Hard Rock Stadium is a great stadium with modern amenities and chairs, which a lot of college stadiums don't have. Most college stadiums have benches because they're actively discouraging you from sitting down. They don't want you to sit down. They want you to participate in an atmosphere, whereas a pro stadium is about having parking that's close to the stadium, an easy way out, chairs, concessions.
I don't care about those specifics. I'm asking you guys to examine, why is Mike so unreasonable fighting with Barstool over this, over the grade, the degrees between it's not a college town atmosphere, which I think we can agree on, and it's a terrible college atmosphere.
I can answer that by saying because he's Mike.
But also, it's because there is an argument going on amongst fans right now about whether you need a college stadium, and also this sort of frames Tyler Van Dyke as having a go at his own fans. And I think if Miami Hurricanes fans get upset at him, or later in the year they lose a game, and you say, well, hey, you don't want to play, why don't you go play in Charlottesville? Or if they go to Charlottesville and lose, hey, I thought you liked playing there. Why are you losing there? It's something to hold against him, when I think he's saying something that's fairly obvious.
But he's also saying, Mike is saying that, we only have 17,000 students. Mike wasn't one of them, by the way, but only have 17,000 students.
But
I'm just saying,
but
listen, I love Mike, okay? He's a good friend. But Mike didn't go to UM, and that's part of the problem.
But what he's saying also is completely contradicting Mike's argument of when the place is full, it's the loudest, craziest college venue there is out there. It's one of the toughest places to play. And the quarterback's like, I'd rather not play here.
Well, to be fair, Tyler Van Dyke has never played in a version of Hard Rock Stadium that's like that.
Well, that's maybe is part of the problem.
Happened one game.
Well, I would say for every Florida State game, it's like that, which it happens once every 2 years, and his experience with that will happen at the end of October.
But
that
you get just as many Florida State fans as you do Miami fans for those games. It doesn't have listen, it is what it is. It's UM. It's never had that college atmosphere.
But Stugotz, you can, are we going to just skip past the fact that Mike is a full-blown literal booster propagandist, where right in front of our ears he's become someone who spreads misinformation to protect the UM brand, because it gets him to the arena with a bus, or it gets him to the ballpark, or it gets him to the stadium with a bus escort and a police escort?
Misinformation is harsh. I think it's just positive spin. And look, I
Those
think
seem like the same thing.
That seems like positive spin of
Thanks,
what was said.
Kaylee McEnany, whatever that lady's name was.
Can you rescind NIL deals?
well.
Oh,
I honestly feel like Tyler Van Dyke has gotten a lot less out of this than we have. Because we talk about him a lot as if we don't pay him money, as if we don't want to have a positive relationship with him.
Well, what positive relationship do we have with him? We bought an NIL deal with a guy who doesn't like Miami.
Man,
Is
can't
clearly
get touchdowns at College Station.
clearly anti-Miami.
He likes the road so much.
Gave
Win
us-
on the
Mike-
road.
Mike
Jesus.
Mike goes to
Come
Texas.
on.
Mike,
right at home at
We want to
Texas
get him out
A&M.
to
What happened?
highlight next Friday.
Yes,
What are you
we do.
doing?
Well, I
No,
want to. He's
I'm just-
contractually
I'm
obligated.
just saying, Mike comes back, and all of a
Get
sudden,
ready, Bucko. If
What
you're
a-
going to be a first rounder, you're going to get criticism.
Bucko.
Bucko.
you guys, I can't believe this happened, and I didn't notice it. Mike Ryan came back from Texas, and he almost had me convinced that it was a good thing that he just saw 3 field goals and 27 first downs.
Moral victory. He took one. He did. He absolutely did.
He's bought and paid for.